there friends, it's me Peter. Last week I shared with you my thoughts on online dating, which had been one of the most requested reviews from me up to that point. But that's not the only video I've had requests for. This week's video is one that several people, including one person in particular, have been asking me to do for the past several months. And I figured, since I did a requested video last week, why don't I do another requested video this week? So that's exactly what I'm doing. This week, my friends, I am reviewing Views, the newest album from popular rap artist Drake. Now, full disclosure for a second, rap is actually one of my least favorite music genres. However, despite that fact, I tried my best to go into this review with a completely open mind, and I am going to give this album as fair of a review as I possibly can. First of all, let me talk a little bit about Drake. Drake burst onto the music scene around 2009, 2010, around that time frame. Even though he was just bursting onto the rap scene, many people already knew who he was. That's because from seasons 1 through 7 of Degrassi: The Next Generation, he had played the character of Jimmy Brooks. So when he first hit it big as a rapper, I kind of found it amusing because Degrassi had been one of my favorite TV shows as a teenager. But despite the fact that he had been a rapper, I hadn't really listened to too many of his songs. So you could say I was kind of going into this review with a clean plate, which is what I had intended to. First, some generic observations. It seems to me that Drake likes to let his songs go on for a few seconds with either complete silence or a little extra quiet noise in the background. I don't really know why he does that, but it was something I noticed as I was listening to all the songs on his album. It seemed almost every song except for a couple had silence at the end of it. That doesn't really affect my opinion of the songs in any way, it's just something I observed. I also noticed that a lot of his songs on this album had to do with relationships. He had one song that talked about getting older and growing apart from the people you grew up with. He had a couple songs about his exes. He had one song where he and Rihanna talked about how they felt they were the only ones contributing to the relationship. So quite a bit was about relationships. The other thing I noticed, a lot of these songs were really forgettable. I found myself being bored by a good majority of them. But while I found a lot of songs in the album boring, I will say this. None of them I outright hated. In fact, most of his songs that I found boring, there was something I did like about them. For instance, the song Faithful, featuring Pimp C and DVSN, I really liked DVSN's verse. It reminded me of 90s R&B, which I am kind of a fan of. And it kind of took me back to my childhood listening to that verse. The rest of the song I wasn't a huge fan of, but that particular verse I really did like. And even though Hotline Bling is probably my least favorite song on the album, it did make me laugh with how silly its lyrics were. I don't know why, but the first line of that song just cracks me up every time I hear it. I don't think it's supposed to, but just the way he sings it just really amuses me, yeah. And yet, even though I just criticized the album as being kind of boring, there are 5 songs on this album that I really enjoyed. I'll go through 4 in no particular order, and then tell you my absolute favorite song on the album. One of those favorite songs is Grammys, which he did with Future. And while I don't like Future's verse in particular because of how annoying his voice can get, I really did like the song itself and the message it was trying to get across, which is that the Grammy Awards are something that nobody really cares about anymore, and how they're kind of out of touch with what people actually want. I also really like Too Good, which featured Rihanna. The song is kind of from the perspective of 2 people who believe they're the only ones contributing to their relationship. I think it's a very realistic song about, a couple who kind of feels like they're the only ones contributing, when in fact their partner actually feels the opposite of what they're feeling. It, I think, captures the really convolutedness of romance very, very well. I also found myself enjoying Weston Road Flows, which talks about growing up and kind of losing track of your friends as you get older. I really enjoyed it because I think we've all experienced that. getting older and losing track of the people we cared about in our childhoods. It's nothing intentional, it's just something everybody kind of does. And I can really relate to that song. And Drake actually sounded kind of sad when he was singing it too, which kind of put some authenticity to it. I also really like Controlla, mostly because it was a nice slow beat and Drake was kind of singing in this kind of slower tone, which for some reason I enjoyed more. I enjoyed Drake singing kind of slower and more mellow. It just, I don't know why, but I just enjoy those types of songs better. Also, I really love the line in Controlla that said, "Jodeci cry for you." I wonder how many people got that reference. For those who don't know, Jodeci was an old R&B group from the late 80s, early 90s that P. Diddy actually at one point was a member of. But by far, my absolute favorite song on the album is One Dance. Wow, I could seriously listen to this song forever. It's got a nice beat, got a good drum beat going. Drake's voice sounds fantastic in the song, and he sounds like he's really enjoying himself. I really can't explain why, but I love songs that are about dancing. If you'll recall, my #1 favorite song from last year was actually Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon. I guess it's just because I like getting up and dancing, shaking my groove thing, and having a good time. But unlike Shut Up and Dance, One Dance is a bit slower, so it's a song that you can kind of slow dance to. And hey, I'm all for songs that you can slow dance to. I got no problem with that at all. Overall, when analyzing Drake's latest album, looking at the good, the bad, and the mediocre, I would have to give this album 3 out of 5 stars. Do you enjoy Drake's album views? What are your thoughts on it? What's your favorite song from the album? Leave me a comment down below letting me know. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos from me, simply click that subscribe button down below. Be sure to tune in next week when I talk about my history with a 20-year-old trend that has been back in the news lately. Until then, this is Peter saying see you later.